of a legacy behind them, formerly the best team in the world, hit a massive rut, but finally looking to be on the comeback. Can they do it here?
Yeah, this is really huge for both of these teams. Tempra were, of course, the team that many people didn't expect to be coming in here. And this actually, straight up, just to interrupt that, an interesting ban kicking things off with as Lion is to be removed off the board.
Yeah, it's funny. There aren't many teams in the league at the moment that play Lion or in Rainbow Six Pro level in general. Maybe it's like a specific thing for just Coastline. But Tempra, one of those teams that Lion is just a comfort pick for them. They absolutely love it. Chaoxis is the guy who plays it. He's not too happy about that getting banned out. So good stuff from Team Empire. Instead of going for like a Thatcher ban or something that really changes the landscape of how you have to play Rainbow Six, they're just trying to throw Tempra off their comfort. And I think that's exactly the perfect idea here. Tempra are a team that really thrives in chaos. If you look at the matches that these two teams have played each other in the past, for example, their Clubhouse game in Stage 2, it's when Tempra gets a little bit aggressive, does something a little bit unorthodox, and plays in their comfort zone. That's when they get the edge over Team Empire. So I like this from the Russians. I think that's a really good ban.
And as well, I think just going back to what we were saying, it is incredibly important for them to be having those more specific bans and jabs towards each other because of the fact that both of these teams have drawn both times they've gone up against each other in EUL so far. So there is nothing really to suggest which of them historically is going to do better than the other. And even both of these teams have been through mass improvements in Stage 2 compared to Stage 1. They were talking about it on the desk, but Team Empire had some real struggles in Stage 1. They finished in 8th place. They had to bring themselves back up. They underwent role swaps. They underwent a lot of consistency changes. You know, Joystick and Dan started to put themselves on the board significantly more than they had before, to the point where now Dan is the highest rated player of the team, or at least in Stage 2 he was. And Tempra as well, maybe sunk into the shadows somewhat back in Stage 1 and have elevated themselves up now. So they've gone through some changes, and yet regardless of that, still neither of these two teams have been able to find a victory over the other.
There's definitely been a lot of changes between these teams that is hopefully going to mean that edge for one or the other. Of course, Villa being Tempra's pick, definitely the advantage does sway towards them. Empire actually love banning this map. They've banned it in almost every game so far in the EUL. Overall, if you look at the last 6 months, it's Empire's most banned map by a huge margin, and that means there's not a lot of info out there. The last time we did see them play it in the EUL, it was a 4-7 loss against Navi. So we're very much on Tempra's home turf. It's the comfort zone that they want to be in, and it's really Empire that has to step up. But of course, with Tempra starting on the attack, they've got to make that first move. It looks like we're going to defend Aviator games here for Empire, and Tempra going to do a pretty standard master across take with just that one player over on the study balcony, which is pivotal in that late round for denying any kind of study presence, which will be a crossfire that would prevent the plant going down at the vault door.
Yeah, and that's going to be Voy, and I think he's a really important team member to mention here as well, because while Empire are looking for their own redemption arc, so is Voy. I mean, he played in SI back in 2018 for Mocket. He was on Vitality at the time, and he's also played in the Paris Major. Oh, sorry, he played on Vitality in SI. He played on Mocket for the Paris Major. He's been in these big international competitions, and he's leading this team into what could be their next title. So he's definitely a huge one to look out for on this team as they head into this game.
And guess what? Last time these guys played each other, it was on Clubhouse, as I was saying before. We're going to get that rematch in a minute, but first, Durza finally gets that kill. Just to close out this point about Voy, he was really struggling, particularly for opening engagements last time these teams played each other, but he's already stepped up now. And that leaves us with Tempra sitting at a 5 versus 3 with just over or just under half the round remaining in a really strong position now.
And not afraid to spring in. There's the lasers to be coming out from the Evil Eye. That's something that Tempra will still have to deal with. But as you say, they are sitting with the man advantage, and that'll give them even more room to be aggressive, as it looks like Team Empire may be looking to do with always pushing up towards 90.
Dan has actually retaken 90. If you recall, this was taken by Tempra. Durza got that first frag right here. But Empire, they grab hold of that rope and pull it back onto their side. This is a game of tug of war, but Tempra still have that numbers advantage. Still lots of time here as we set up the pre-execute. Tempra's intention is to plant just through this aviator door, but they've lost control of 90 now, and they're going to have to be worried about that flank. P4 wants to go aggressive. He's got the diffuser. He needs to find that kill. He does. 4v2. This is where we'll see the execute.
Yeah, they've got 30 seconds remaining. They're going to have to push in soon, and Joystick's still present here in the vault. Out goes a smoke from Always to try and deny what could be a push in. But as you mentioned, that defuse has to go down, and there we go. It's been done, and suddenly a post-plant situation for Team Empire. Just these 2 players remaining, and they're going to play it patient for now. But as the time ticks, so do their chances of taking this first round. Always looking for that first kill, but it'll be Joystick who gets it onto P4. He's been downed and has to come back to safety, but Always has got a tough task to ensure that that safety is retained. Boy can just push on forward. He goes in, and now Always is down, and this could be the chance he gets to bring down both of these players. That'll happen, and Tempra quite comfortably take the first round.
I mean, that was a bit of a messy post-plant there, but Tempra got the job done at the end of the day. I don't know how Joystick found that pistol kill. Love the Keratos, but yeah, cool. Whatever. Tempra, overall, good stuff. I think finding the first 2 kills really set the pace there for the French. Finding that first pick on the control of 90, I wasn't sure where that second one came out. Voy was on the study balcony. Master found a player from Empire that got a little bit too greedy on the study balcony. Perhaps they were peeking from inside Aviator as Empire had pre-opened that wall to get aggressive onto that player on the study balcony. But of course, the angle goes both ways. Some good ideas there from Empire trying to grab it back onto their side, particularly Dan retaking 90. I think that was a good play. But Tempra just having that man advantage meant that in that 4 versus 2, there's basically no way they're going to lose that execute. Empire, they don't have any plant denial. I believe Always was already dead, and he's the guy you hope to be smoking off that plant and delaying extra time. The Tempra did a great job, but they're going to have to do it again. And Empire, I doubt they're going to fall quite so hard in those opening engagements this time around.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this is going to change, because despite the fact I do agree with you, I think the fact that Dan was willing to go aggressive and retake the control at 90, it also meant that Empire was still playing relatively reactionary. They were reacting to the space that Tempra had taken and what it was they were doing, rather than staying all together and just waiting for Tempra to come to them. And it meant that even very far through the round, you still had shields and evil eyes and all of that utility that you oftentimes expect to be removed much earlier on still standing, that Tempra kind of didn't have to worry about for the most part. But once again, it does look like they're going to be coming in through Master. It's something that we saw a lot from BDS in that last game. I don't know, maybe it's a French thing, but this is clearly their preference.
What I will say is this is a good start for Tempra because that was a win on their attacking side. And the Villa we just saw earlier today, only 35% of rounds were attack wins. This is very much a defense-favored map. So we'd hope that Empire, they're the ones who got to choose the defensive start on account of this being Tempra's map pick. You'd hope that Empire could give themselves a bit of a round count buffer here, get that first leg up. But Tempra, they've started strong on their map pick, on the unfavored side. And that's what is a really, really good sign for the French here.
So this is kind of interesting. I want to mention this, the fact that Joystick is playing Maestro. He did in that last round as well. To a lot of people who've been following Team Empire for a long time, that might seem kind of strange. You're used to seeing Joystick on operators like Jaeger, who get to run around and be a bit more roamy. But this is part of the role swap that we've really seen work for Team Empire to bring them more consistency and more prowess in Stage 2. So definitely something that I would expect to see more of. Team Empire aren't worrying too much about pushing too far forward or getting overly aggressive too early. And we are only about halfway through the round as well, so Tempra still have plenty of time to play with.
Scyther has been golden on that entry fragger Roma role in Stage 2 thus far. It's really been a large part of why Empire has had this resurgence. But it is a very static, anchor-centric hold here for Empire. As time ticks away, ooh, that nade deals a lot of damage onto Joystick. Not a lot of info here for Tempra, but they're just nading the common spots to Joystick. Wow, he's taken a lot of damage there, but he's got this ACOG on the ACS-12, the slug shotgun. Funny to see that picked instead of that magnificent older. But this is going to come down to plant denial for Empire. They've still got 5 men alive, which is much better than previously. The question is, can they deny the plant?
Well, Shepard, he's going to be the first to fall. Dan as well. So that was that aggressive player that Team Empire tried to rely upon to retake a lot of that control before. Less than 30 seconds now. And once again, this could fall down to a lot of pressure going on always on Joystick's shoulders, especially as Scyther takes that damage. Tempra just looking to move on in. They're going in for the plant, as you say. There's the smoke. And then finally the deny with the impact. That's great for Joystick, but Scyther will be the next one to fall. Tempra going to be able to fix this problem. Shinka's going in once again. And always is going to try and rotate around, but it looks like he'll have the opportunity to get the plant in. He is shot straight through, and another win for Tempra.
A 3K for the Zafira of Voy, I believe, on that round. A player that I said would have a lot of pressure, and you prefaced the pedigree of this player and the history and accomplishments on Vitality and Pro League rosters in the past. Tempra have come out so strong. And that's 2 rounds in a row. They've earned for themselves a 5 versus 3 man advantage, albeit not quite as early as it was in round number 1. But they managed to convert. They managed to get that diffuser down 2 rounds in a row. And this really starts to put some doubt into Empire's mind. How strongly can we actually hold that Aviator Games Room bomb site? After 2 tries, maybe it's best we move over to stat.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what they have done, and that's really the right idea. One of the real poignant things that you mentioned in that last round was the fact that it was a good start for Tempra because they were on the attacking side, and we're here on Villa. I mean, we just listened to the interview with Alems at the end of the last game, and he said, on Villa, you expect the defenders to win. Yeah. When you're coming in and you've taken 2 rounds straight up and you're on the attack, that's not necessarily great for those defenders. Now, you can obviously say this isn't Team Empire's map. Villa has historically been a map that they don't feel entirely comfortable on, but this is still a major, and this is still the first step on the path to your arc of redemption. You don't want to mess that up.
The thing that really stays in my mind about this is, yeah, on paper, Empire not super comfortable on Villa, at least not from what we know, because, let's be honest, we don't actually have a lot of info. When a team bans a map a lot, you're kind of just making assumptions. We assume they're not very confident on this map, but in a best-of-1 system, Empire gets a lot of bans. They've basically just insta-banned both Villa and Theme Park through the entire of EUL. But maybe they've been working on it in the meanwhile. So what I'd hope here for Empire is that coming into this game, they've got something spicy, some kind of strategy that Tempra's not going to expect. But so far, it's been very much default strategies here for Empire. And I think that's why Tempra has been so good at dismantling it.
Yeah, I mean, you really hope that's the case, especially as both times these teams played against each other in the regular season, they had very similar bans, the only difference being that Tempra one-time banned Club and one-time banned Coast, and that is what set the maps that they ended up playing. But they haven't wasted any time to make their way in, as Durs is already present in Bathroom. He has been for a while, having already removed the Banshee and getting his eyes on the shield. That nade isn't going to get rid of the shield just yet as it gets eaten up, but there is still one in pocket.
Such good time management here for Tempra, and, well, that's a lot of damage done with the nade. 1 bullet will seal the deal. Shepard, if he dies here, and he's gone injured, thanks to, I believe that was the breaching round from Ash, and now finished off. 3 gas canisters dead, along with Shepard, always to fall as well. P4 has found an entry here into Astro with so much time remaining. Tempra are looking very, very strong.
Yeah, I mean, this is another instance of the 5 versus 3. Joystick has to jump over because he's taking some damage. He still has those impacts, and we saw him get a deny in the last round using them, but he has to be in a good enough position to actually make that work for himself in order to have it happen. Shinka looks like he's getting prepared, as this time he is carrying the diffuser, and there is the attempt at the plant. But our Team Empire are in any kind of position to deal with it. You heard an air jab go off, but there's the plant. Finally done. Scyther gets taken down, coming up the Astro stairs. He's DBNO'd and straight to his death, and that leaves just Dan, who once again gets shot down into a flawless round for Tempra, and this is feeling painful for Empire off the bat.
3 rounds, 3 plants, 3 attack wins, and, well, a flawless as well. Tempra are manhandling Empire right now. And keep in mind, Empire actually came into this as the 2nd seed above Tempra in 3rd place, and Empire was actually in some ways head and shoulders above the rest, especially if you take into account the fact that they had to forfeit their game against Vitality, which I personally would have favored them to win. Had they done that, they would be even 3 points ahead. They'd be much closer to BDS, in fact, closer to BDS than Tempra, I do believe, on the standings. And Tempra, despite that, have said, come on, we're in the gaming house. We're all set. We're all ready to go. No one's expecting us to get far. Like, they came fourth in the French league, and that was including Penta, right? I'm so impressed with what we're seeing right now.
I think that's kind of one of the interesting things here is Team Empire coming in with everything to lose and essentially Tempra coming in with nothing to lose. We could see if they do well, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but we could see a BDS-esque rise for Tempra if they do well in this major. Think about it. They came in through Challenger League, just like BDS did before they made it into Tier 1. They had an iffy first stage, just like BDS had an iffy first season, and then suddenly you rise up through the ranks of international play. Now, this is one of these regional majors because of COVID, so you can't necessarily call it international play, but it's still a major. You still have that title in your heart, but more importantly, on your Wikipedia page. And everyone knows that that's the most important thing. Joystick getting aggressive, but he's actually going to retreat straight back into Master, unable to find anything, and Shinka probably saw it all.
Yeah, Shinka also spotted always in the corner. That's a free kill for anyone able to scooch on over. Even a nade. We've seen great nade work in this game thus far, in particular from P4 with the sledge. Empire trying to play a bit looser, but Dan takes a lot of damage there, trying to peek from the art studio. Durza scares him off. It's a reattempt here at the stat bomb site, which was a flawless attack round win for Tempra last time around. This is a hard closet hold here for always, with some support from Shepard in the bathroom, so I like this. Empire have changed their strategies. They're not trying to keep doing things that aren't working. People say Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, but Tempra has great control, in particular of the Astro stairs, and with so much time to work it as well.
I mean, Tempra took control of the bathroom really quickly last time, so Shepard has evidently positioned himself to prevent that from happening, but he has taken a significant amount of damage as well, and so if he gets cleared out, that will be really painful. This could be painful to Joystick as well, and it is. Boy ensures that that kill is straight into his pocket, and you lose one of those roamers. There's Shepard to fall as well. And once again, we're finding ourselves in the same situation. Everyone, well, nearly everyone on Tempra is still standing, and Scyther and Dan just have everything to try and juggle straight in through the floor. There's a death for Scyther, and Dan once again trying. He gets Durza, but he can't keep himself alive. This is brutal for Empire so far.
The French have taken by storm today. Rainbow Six here in the EUL, or I guess I could say the EU Major, and Durza hits the nice shot, but honestly, I feel like Empire needs to say something in chat to acknowledge how good Tempra is playing right now.
They can't type nice shot so many times. Like, they would literally not be in the game if they typed it as many times as Tempra were getting nice shots.
This is just crazy.
Not that they're in the game anyway. Or at least it feels like that way.
This is very much a Tempra show at the moment. Even if you just look at the kill distribution there, I'm not going to try and do some arithmetic on stream, but you can very much see Tempra have far more frags overall than Empire, and the Russians here are going back and forth, doing this devilish little dance where they don't really know the moves. They're just awkwardly kind of scooching around the dance floor from Stat and Trophy over back to Aviator Games, and they can't find their feet. They can't find anything. But I do commend them for trying new things. They tried that bathroom hold. Yeah, it didn't work. They're trying a 90 hold here. I don't know if it's going to work. They keep trying stuff. Tempra, though, I don't think they're going to slow down. They're a wave crashing on through, and they're not stopping for anything.
I'm actually a lot happier with what it looks like Empire are doing here, and the primary reason is Dan on Vigil. Now, we know that Dan really likes to play Vigil anyway, but one thing that Team Empire weren't doing when they came to AVG in the first couple of rounds is roaming. Really? They were playing very close to the site, whereas we see a lot of other teams either like to have roamers elsewhere on the map, especially if they're preparing for a master take. They'll have someone who's situated up towards the north, or someone downstairs. That's what we saw Milan doing a lot on Virtus Pro in the game against BDS. So the fact that Dan has picked that operator suggests that that's something that Team Empire are going to be playing about with, and that not only can waste the time from Tempra, but it also gives them another angle of strategy and potential defense that could work out in their favor.
Well, I'm going to reserve my judgment for now. Empire, they've got a lot of work to do, and I'm looking at Tempra and how well they have handled Empire as a challenge. Perfect. Just about every single step of the way. Bulletproof Cam spotted out at 90. That is a heavy point of contention for Empire. A repel on the 90 window could deal a lot of damage to this strategy. Both of those ADSs, I believe, could be shot from that 90 window, as well as both positions of these players. As soon as Tempra rotates someone onto that window, Empire are going to be in a spot of trouble. Perhaps the idea is for Always to use his gas to force the player off that window. It really is only a matter of time before Tempra rotates someone there. Surely, I don't really see why they wouldn't. That's the way to deal with this setup.
I mean, they don't look like they're making any kind of rush to do it just yet. They're actually just droning straight down at the moment. Want to ensure that they know definitely where those positions are, while Voy, as the same as the first 2 rounds, head back around onto the veranda. There's an explosion as the utility is trying to be gotten rid of, and that shield still tentatively stands.
Oh, no.
But first kill.
Oh, no.
That brings down Scyther, but Durza and Always the next to fall. Team Empire once again finding themselves with just 3 standing, but not quite the same level of disadvantage as they've seen before.
Yeah, well, that was a trade that went Tempra's way. They went 2 for 1, I should say. Dan, though, might find a kill here, threads the needle, and that's Voy taking out a hugely impactful player thus far on Villa. And now, pivotally, that gives Empire free roam in study. The only player from Tempra to deny those positions was Voy, and now he's gone. This is going to be very, very difficult. P4 is actually going to rotate downstairs with 30 seconds left. This is going to be very difficult for Tempra. The win condition now is got to be to find some frags. They can't just go for a static plant, not with a numbers equality like this.
And having lost Voy and Durza, they have lost those main fraggers, but P4's certainly been putting up the numbers so he could show up here. Fewer than 10 seconds remaining though, and Dan is ready to meet him at the top of the stairs, and he does. Doesn't look like Tempra are going to be able to do much. Shinka is going to go in for the plant regardless, and he actually won't be stopped so far. There we go, Dan finally gets it. I was worried he wouldn't be able to do it then. Team Empire finally put a round on the board. They desperately needed it though, and now they desperately have to keep it up.
A huge round from Dan though, a player we haven't actually talked so much about today, but as for the EUL, he was really turning up the heat in the latter few playdays, and I think overshadowed a little bit by Joystick and Scyther. Joystick because he was fitting into this new role and struggling sometimes, doing well sometimes. Scyther because he was flourishing so much in that fragger role. But Dan absolutely stepped up there, and yet you can point to that 4K and say, you get 4 kills in a round, you're no doubt the most valuable player. But honestly, there was only 1 kill, and it's the one that Voy is referencing right now. This 1 kill onto Voy on the study balcony completely changed the landscape of that attack for Tempra. No longer can Tempra try to go for a vault door plant from the skull door into Aviator. It just does not work if you don't have control of study. And that was Voy's job, to deny people flanking into study. And as soon as Voy was dead, as soon as Dan threaded that needle, it was kind of all over Red Rover. Even in a 3 versus 3, Tempra looked desperate. They rotated P4 downstairs to try to find some nade kills through the floor, but it was very much a desperate attempt. So yes, Dan finding 4 kills is great, but that 1 kill, that was worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, I mean, you have to bear in mind that because Villa is such a huge map, if you've already committed to making that rotation as P4 did, you kind of have to finish it off anyway. And by the time you got to the top of the main stairs, Dan was in the position where he could take that. But now Team Empire are finally coming to their tertiary bomb site, which is Kitchen, as they visited AVG 3 times and Trophy twice, and they've only won 1 of those so far. But it means that they can go for something slightly different, expecting, of course, this more vertical take to come in from Tempra. They're roaming around with the pulse downstairs. Maybe roaming is not quite the right word, but they're just rolling around with the pulse downstairs, and also bring some decent denial with the Kaid and the mute as well.
Yeah, you gotta love some Walden art, but that's just not bad. Funnily enough, not brought either from any of these rounds. Not that it's made a difference at all.
Remember that guy?
Tempra's been Insane. Yeah. I don't remember Thatcher. No, we don't see him these days. We don't talk
I
about
bet
him.
always will play him. That's my bet.
Well, I bet Dan's going to try and pull off something cheeky down here in the art studio, but there's two players seemingly aware of his presence. He's caught, but Tempra don't get aggressive. These are some great pre-placed drone and so much info eventually dispatched of, but it does give Tempra an idea of this setup from Team Empire. It's an old-fashioned Mexican standoff. Tempra, surely Chaoxis is going to round the corner. They're completely unawares. The shots come through to bait out, but surely Chaoxis rounds the corner. A flashbang! No! How do you fat finger that? Dan finally punished, but that took so much longer than it could have.
Oh, I was thinking Dan's going to get completely spit roasted here, but it wasn't quite like that. They eventually got rid of him, as you say, but they had to spend a lot of time doing it and lost a flashbang in the process too. And we all know in this meta, that's super important. Always popping up on the red stairs. He retreats back to the basement after securing a kill onto P4 to even things out somewhat. And now we head into the final minute of the round, and Tempra is still looking to make their way into the building for the most part.
I don't think we've actually spectated anything on the bomb site thus far this game. Like early round maybe, but always, okay, he gets aggressive through pantry envoy. I really like this from Empire. They have a newfound passion, a newfound gusto. They just don't care. They're playing a bit more aggressive, a bit more freely, backing themselves a little bit more, and it's working. What an aggressive place to play. Joystick actually directly trades with Chaoxis, but Empire have numbers advantage, and now it's a very late push. There's still a little bit of time left, but Tempra are just going to be relying on a crazy 1 versus 3 clutch.
Yeah, I mean, the newest member of Team Empire is looking like he's showing up, and Shinka's gonna have to go up against him and all these other members. He can't do it. Scyther leaps out and ensures that kill goes for him. Out goes a celebratory C4. And while the final scoreline at the end of that half may have been less than ideal for Team Empire, it's at least nice for their own motivations and their own mentality to know that they pulled it back.
There is absolutely no question about it. Tempra won that half. Well and truly, like...
Oh, yeah.
That was by a landslide. A 4-2 on your attack. Woof, that's lovely. But if you've maybe been a viewer of a lovely little thing called the APAC North League, you'll realize that having a good attack half isn't necessarily everything, because we've seen teams can flip the switch right on you. And guess what? Empire has established a momentum right now. The big highlight difference for me between the first 4 rounds that Tempra took very, very convincingly by a storm to the 2 rounds that we just saw from Team Empire is the confidence that Empire have, the willingness to just embrace the chaos as Tempra do, take a more aggressive angle, go for an aggressive roam, go for a swing. I think that kind of disrupts Tempra's plan that they're trying to execute, and I think that that's going to carry forward onto Empire's attacks, and I think that they can potentially come back from this.
I mean, you know, the funny thing, I'm just looking at Tempra's stats, and we're just talking about, you know, attacks and stuff like that. On Aviator Games, they, in the last few months, we're looking back to June, they have won attacks on AVG 4 times and lost it 12. So they turned things around somewhat here, it looks like. Maybe not their most prolific attacking site, and yet it worked out for them this time round, or at least for the most part. But now they have the opportunity to move on over to the defense. They're rocking a composition that is kind of different to what Team Empire were doing. They are bringing along the C4s, and they are kind of going for the Russian idea themselves with the Goyo.
Well, they'll have to deal with a Russian squad, and yeah, the Goyo's great. Brings the total to 3 shields. Goyo's not so useful when you just die trying to pick up his shield, though. So Scyther will find that one for free. I don't know whether that was a misclick or something, but it was certainly a misplay.
Oh, well, Joystick took the opportunity regardless, so he doesn't really care which it is. He got a kill out of it, and that's great for Team Empire as well, who need these opening kills, I think, to push themselves into a position where they feel like they can bring this map back in their favor. Very aggressive, it looks like they want to play, and always also ready. And that's going to force Durza to move back towards the side over the Vulcan shield, as he doesn't want to get caught out in those crosses. Now
there's a moment of silence. We can breathe. And Tempra, reconsolidate. Chaoxys comes back to the bomb site, leaving P4 as the only remaining roamer. But Chaoxys had a pre-placed C4 all the while in that heads window. He detonates that to take down Always, just as he's trying to let down one of his air jabs. And this is looking good again for Tempra. I wouldn't say this slants in their favor quite drastically. It's pretty even at the moment. Empire in a decent position. Still 2x Kairos in the pocket, but they'll need control of Study if they are to go for this default plant. And keep in mind, there is actually no C4s, but still 3 gas canisters. It could be impactful here for denying the plant, plus the deadly vertical potential from P4.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could see someone roaming around downstairs, and that is the Malusi, who just has those lines of sight upwards. So definitely something Empire will have to be careful of, especially if they don't send someone downstairs directly to deal with it. Instead, they're going to start things off by opening up Vault, and it's actually Joystick who's going on a bit of a roam clear. He finds a shield. Well, maybe not quite a roam clear. He's through Study. He sees the shield at the top of main, and Shinka's just going to press on forward. Is he going to find him? Oh, not quite. Yes, he does.
What am I watching, Gio?
He gets the DBNO, and there's another kill for Scyther, who has another one on top of his tally. So suddenly you think it's going to go to Shinka, and all of those expectations are snatched away. P4 is now roaming up, and he comes to look for his prey. But is he going to be able to find it? There he is, on to Shepard. That means the diffuser can't go down. But Team Empire with Scyther, who really stole the round away for himself, ensures that they still take the victory on that one, despite how much that boat rocked.
Bonjour, welcome to Attacker-sided Villa here in the November Major for Europe. We decided to spice things up. We decided that, well, I'm hanging out from down under. Let's flip things on their head and have some really convincing attack rounds. I mean, yeah, that maybe got a bit close at the end there, but I will say the fact that Empire pulled that rabbit out of a hat in a 4 versus 4, executing through Vault instead of on the Vault door plant from Aviator, kind of subverted expectations. Typically what you would see is teams go for that plant behind the Vault door from the Skull doorway into Aviator. But no, they decided to use the remaining X Kairos to open a proper entryway into Vault. Scyther found 2 kills entering through there. Joystick found 1 entering through Study, and it was all over Red Rover. Really good attack round from Empire, and that makes it the 5th attack round out of 7 rounds thus far this game. It's very exciting to see, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's kind of crazy, I guess. And I mean, it's nice as well because, you know, both of these teams, and this was mentioned on the desk, both of these teams have players who will not hesitate to take those gunfights when they can and when they think they should. And that's why things were kind of chaotic in the end there, because you suddenly think the P4 is going to be able to get this kill that he needs, and then out of nowhere, just Team Empire clean it all up. And I think it was Jess on the desk who said, you should expect this to get chaotic at times because of that, and especially because of Tempra's playstyle, which is maybe a bit less stringent and rigorous than Team Empire's is. But we'll have to see if that continues forward as Tempra move on to Trophy.
And Empire shaping up for this master take. The castle's a nice shout here, and the elephant in the room, which we've got to address, is no doubt the Clash. There's 2 castle barricades dealt with quite handily. The Clash actually currently looking to prevent a push from the Study Across side. It is a hard closet hold, thanks to Smoke. Great operator for it, can delay tons of time. He's got the shotgun for close range fights. These ADSs being burnt, just like we talked about in the pre-show today. The attack is a bit of a game of clearing out ADSs and, well, my magnets. In this case, Empire's banned him, and then destroying any utility. That nade comes through, Joystick pre-fires on the back of it. That was textbook, that was beautiful, and it worked handily for Empire.
Yeah, now Chaoxys is being forced back as they drone out through Bathroom in amongst all the chaos, and this should allow Team Empire some pretty good room to move forward. But as I say that, is Dan to be the next taken down? Chaoxys securing the kill for himself. That'll weaken the attacking prowess of this team and maybe stunt the speed with which they want to push forward. But they've still got plenty of time on the board and a number of drones to work with as well. So all is not lost for Team Empire, just Dan.
What I will say is something underestimated a bit about this is, yeah, Empire now has control of Closet, but that's not the be-all end-all here for Tempra. In particular, they have this Clash, right? What do you use to counter a Clash? Well, flashbangs are a nice start. Look at that. We had 9. We now have 0. They have all been used to just burn through those 3 ADSs that was in the Closet. And now this Clash is basically going to be unimpeded. Dan is dead. No more concussions, no more air jabs even. Voy should, in theory, have a field day here. And I think this Clash is going to be the toughest hurdle for Empire to mount.
Maybe so. Joystick's position is going to be given away from that breach charge, and that means Durza knows that he's down here, and see him moving out of position. Doesn't want to get involved in that, but will be passing that information along to his team, as Shepard is the next one to fall as well. That does mean the diffuser's going to be cold. That'll have to be collected by another member of Team Empire before they're to move in, if they want to be planning that. For Joystick, he can take control here of Astro, moving on up the stairs, and it could be Chaoxis the next one to fall, but instead he's going to be the next one to get a kill himself. And now there's just over 10 seconds remaining, and this looks like it's going to fall in Tempra's favor. Joystick the only one standing for Team Empire, but not for long. And Tempra take themselves their first defending round.
And what a way to do it as well. Chaox has found 4 on the round, but that Clash, boy, his impact was not to be understated. Firstly, enabling that aggressive peak from Chaox is all from Trophy all the way on through. Those holes in the stat to Master Wall, onto that Master Balcony. That was the diffuser carrier, and kind of sent Empire in shambles. From that point forward, Voy was walking all around the bomb site, trying to get information, calling out to his teammates. And of course, that enabled Chaoxis to get that 4K and enabled that final kill as well. I've got to credit the supports every now and then. Voy, not always a support player, but on that Clash, he was certainly doing what his team needed and enabling them to take the show. Lovely stuff, and wow, this is shaping up to be quite a convincing map thus far for Tempra, despite Empire having somewhat of a resurgence in those past 3 rounds. I really feel like it's going to be a difficult job for Empire to get back into it. Tempra on their defenses, and they've definitely got some good strategies that just simply trump Empire.
Well, I mean, one of the things that you really praise there is the supports, and it leads me to talk about someone who I think I've had my eye on a bit, and that's Shepard. Shepard has been this really venerated figure of Team Empire, especially from back when we looked at the Raleigh Major. That's when people started really talking about him. He's currently 0-7. He's been known as this guy who can clutch. He has great number of plants. He always does really, really well, and yet so far, he's barely showed up. He's been shut down. He's been caught out. And this is something we saw in stage 2 as well. Shepard, as Joystick got better, seemed to fall off the wagon a bit. And it's almost like Team Empire have this sinusoidal kind of property in their players. As Joystick goes up, Shepard goes down. And it seems that neither can live while the other survives. And that's what it looks like so far in this game.
Getting all metaphorical on me, Gio. I like it.
It's a bit Harry Potter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a bit. All right. Well, that's another pre-play C4. We've seen some dangerous ones from Tempra already. Empire definitely look like they're the reachers here. They're running from behind. Tempra giving them a serious run for their money. Look at the extension of utility here from Tempra. That's a Banshee in Master and an ADS on the Bricks door. Keep in mind, bomb site is Aviator Games Room. And I really like the way Tempra has shifted their utility so it's in position to counter the way Tempra, or rather Empire, attacked previously. And they've also found the first kill and the second. My God. Almost a third there. There you go, finishing the deal. What am I watching, Gio? Tempra have stolen the show and sold out the concerts.
I mean, you are watching the highest rated player on Tempra do his job. That's Chaoxis sitting on the Bandit, and he's been hitting his shots. Shepard knows where he is, as he's right across the skylight, shooting on into Master. He's got about half health, but he's done a lot with it so far. And as I mentioned, Shepard hasn't really so much. There's the next kill for Chaoxis as Shepard goes down, and that'll make it so much harder for Scyther to try and secure some kind of crossfire. He can't even begin. He has no support. He's all on his own. Chaoxis didn't need to move, and at no point did Empire see the site. AVG, by the way.
back-to-back 4Ks.
That's why
for Chaos is to put the French on match point. I mean, we said this is going to be a French-Russian major right now. It's looking to be like 80% French at the moment, 20% Russian, and 19 out of that 20% was Virtus Pro Empire. Where are you? Not here, not in the server today. That's for damn sure.
Don't put VP down like that. They gave BDS a really tight run for their money, which is not something that we can say so far in this game. As much as it pains me, because the potential for redemption for Team Empire is so much. It's like, it's monolithic. And they need to pick it up. And the Team Empire fans out there, again, I reiterate, this isn't Empire's map. They've chosen Clubhouse as their map. That is a map that famously has fallen in their favor. They were always able to play it very, very well. They started to get figured out on it a bit, but then they became more comfortable. This isn't their map. But what this also isn't is the scoreline they wanted. And that's concerning.
What's really exciting to me about what we are witnessing here is Tempra, and I think that they're turning a new leaf. Now, Tempra, we know, is a team for kind of two different things in my mind. One, a lot of creativity. We saw that crazy Amaru counter-strat against G2 on Oregon dorms. We've seen crazy interpretations of penthouse defenses on coastline. And the other thing that we know Tempra for is aggression and thriving in chaos, a willingness to play into that play style and embrace that chaos. But what we're seeing from Tempra right now is, yes, they're embracing the chaos, but they're actually playing very low-risk strategies. I'm going to point out the previous time that they defended the stat bomb site where they had that closet hold, it was low risk because once they lost closet, they had soaked up all Empire's utility and they still had that clash. Just then, they invested so much utility to counter the way the Empire attacked that Aviator games from bomb site, which is clearing for a master of course. But even had they lost that, they still would have had really strong fortified positions on the bomb site. This is a beautiful Tempra that is not only playing to their strengths of chaos and creativity, but also one that knows how to mitigate risks. And it is just amazing to witness.
What this looks like is an Empire who really wants to be leaning into the soft destruction as they brought both Buck and Sledge to open up those floors. We saw Scyther going at it over in Statuary. That's where he is now, and always up in the bathroom. That'll place so much pressure down below, but Scyther takes a ton of damage in the process. Chaoxis isn't far away. We've seen what a machine he can be against the Russian machine of Team Empire.
The Russian machine, or the rusty machine these days, Empire hasn't quite looked like what they used to be. And Tempra, I don't know if I can go with machine. They're really just some kind of French revolutionaries is how I would put it. These guys have been absolutely nuts. The way that they've come up through CL, and let's be honest, they kind of dominated Season 11 of the Challenger League in Europe, and coming into EUL, we kind of didn't get as much as we'd hoped out of them in Stage 1. Stage 2 was a very different story, and that resurgence has seemed to not slow down. If this is a honeymoon period, it's a bloody long honeymoon, and I hope they don't come home from their holiday anytime soon.
I mean, look how many people are still alive on the side of Tempra. It's all of them. They're all there. And we're at 30 seconds or thereabouts. Team Empire, regardless of which way this swings, are going to find themselves in a bloodbath. They get the opening kill onto P4. That's that smoke that's been removed from the board. That could be pretty huge, meaning that those pernicious gases are not going to be available to deny them at the end. But they actually have to get there in the first place. Joystick's playing tentatively. He does secure a kill for himself, but Dan goes down as well. Shepard's going in for the plant bit. That is denied immediately. And suddenly we're in the last 5 seconds. Scyther desperately has to go for it himself, but Void just pushing on forward. He catches Joystick out, but the diffuser is planted. Post-plant situation. Void keeps it
Yes, the hold.
Always is the only one there. And Shinka can just go ahead and disable that diffuser. And that means that it felt like it wasn't particularly long, especially compared to what we saw with BDS and Virtus Pro, but our first map is done.
And if you blinked, you might have just missed it, Gio. What a game here from Tempra. The underdogs have taken us to Villa and dusted it off. They made it all the way to that beautiful winery, and well, they kind of stole the show. Empire didn't look to be in that just about at all. What an insane game for Chaoxes. Keep in mind, more than half of his kills, 8 out of his